created us to have an image, in His image, to have a relationship with Him. And I think that's important for us. Matter of fact, that relationship was so beautiful that it says the Lord walked and talked with Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. Wouldn't that be awesome? Wouldn't it be nice to do that just once? To talk with God in person? I want to tell you a story. And I want you to use your imagination. This is not a true story, but maybe it is for you individually. By the time I'm done the story, maybe you'll say, yes, it is a true story because I've gone through it. But I want you to imagine, you go to bed at night time, and you're restless. You're not really sure why. Maybe you're thinking about something. Maybe something's bugging you. Maybe it's because your leg hurts, or your foot hurts, or maybe your back hurts, or maybe it's all of the above. But for whatever reason, you don't sleep. You lay in bed all night, you toss, you turn, and you know how it is when you wake up at like around 5 o'clock, you fall asleep, and then the alarm goes off at 6, and you're going, oh, now it's time to go to work. Now what do I do? Well, you get up in the morning, and you know you're cranky. You know that. Even before you get out of bed, your husband, your wife, your kids, whatever the case may be, they don't need to tell you. You know when you get out of your bed, I'm cranky, I'm miserable, I'm going to be mean all day long, guaranteed. And I should probably stay away from people in general. I can't, but I should. You get up, you go to your bathtub. You put on the shower and you get in there, everything's going not too bad so far. You're trying to get sleep out of your eyeballs. And the soap falls on the bathtub floor. So you go pick it up, you slip, you fall, and you bust your knee. You think, what more could happen to me? And you're mad now. Now you're angry. And you're also hurt. So you limp out of your bathtub. And you say, okay, day might go maybe a little bit better. You look at your watch. I'm late. I'm late for work. I'm going to cut it really, really close. But if I drive really, really, really fast, I can make it. I know I can. So you jump in your vehicle and you go out and you just put that gas pedal down as far as you can and you try and make it there. Lo and behold, you get partway there and there's a big old traffic jam. And you look at it and go, oh, not this morning. Any other morning but this morning. You feel for somebody if they're in a traffic jam. You feel maybe there's an accident or something. I feel for them, but I'm late and I'm going to be late. And you know at this point you are. And you think, I'm in trouble. You arrive at work and the boss is mad. He's ugly. You've been late before. And he's not happy at all with you. He piles up a whole bunch of work this high and he says, look, I'm going to whip you all day long, basically in his eyeballs. You see it. And he says, all day, you're going to work like a dog. And you do. You work a couple hours overtime just to appease the boss so he doesn't fire you. You leave. You think, how much worse can this day possibly get? All I want to do is go home, curl up in the covers. I don't want to talk to anybody because I'll probably make all my family mad at me. I just want to disappear. That's all I want to do. You're out on the highway. It starts to rain. You think, big deal. I'm in the car. Lo and behold, your car breaks down. And you have a flat tire. You get out. You got no umbrella. And you change your tire. You get absolutely soaked head to foot. You jump back in your car. Now you're even more miserable than when you started. And you say, all right, now I'm going to go home and pray I make it there. You finally come into your driveway. And who should be there but Jesus? He's standing at your door. And he comes up to you and he puts his arms around you. He says, I know you've had a bad day. I know exactly what day you had. I knew before you even got up this morning what day you were going to have anyway. And he says, I want you to tell me all about it. And as you tell him, each piece of your day melts away. You forget about it. You say, well, that's not a big deal. God took that one. And as you tell him more and more, he takes all the hurt and all the pain away. Next thing you know, your knee feels just fine, and you're no longer tired, you're full of life all over again. And Jesus says, you give me your yoke, I'll give you mine. That's awesome. But we lost that. You know we sold that? We sold that relationship for a lousy piece of fruit. That's amazing. Why would we do that? We sold it off. It's not like we lost it, because we didn't lose it. It's not like you had a penny and you put it off on the side somewhere and you can't find it anymore. We sold it because we didn't want it. We sold it because we weren't happy with it. We sold it because we thought we could make ourselves happier than Jesus, who would wrap his arms around us and take away all our pain. We sold it. That inheritance is gone. We try to get it back. Humanity has tried, but has not been successful. It says in God's holy word that even though humanity has been given a manual, God's holy word, on how to be holy, it's all spelled out there, this holy word of God was powerless to actually help us, to save us, to get us into heaven, because we couldn't stop sinning long enough to appreciate it. In Genesis it says the devil had a curse. He gave us a curse, didn't he, kind of? He told us, he said, you know what? If you just took the fruit, you would see good, you would see evil, you'd understand both. He kind of gave us a little bit of a curse of his own, because the very second we took the fruit, We understood what evil was, but we fell in love with it. And we've been seeking evil ever since. And that keeps us from God. You go on a little bit further and it says, as a result of humanity, we're considered dead to God, His enemy, and objects of His wrath. No possibility to come back and restore the relationship, not on our own. It's impossible. That's what we've lost. That's our situation. We need a kinsman redeemer. We need somebody who can buy back our inheritance. Just like Ruth needed someone to buy back hers. And there are requirements for a kinsman redeemer. And this is the first one. Leviticus 25:25 says, if a countryman becomes poor and sells some of his property, the nearest relative to the person would have to come back, purchase it, and give it back to you. That law was very significant in the Old Testament. What happened was in Joshua's time, once they conquered the land of Canaan, they got all this land. And God said to them, this much land goes to each one of the tribes. It was specifically laid out. And then each one of the tribes gave their land to their families. And God said, everyone equally shares in the inheritance. But He made a condition. If you become too poor and you've got to sell your land, you can only sell it within your family. You cannot sell it to any other tribe or any other family. That way there, the rich wouldn't become too rich. And the poor would not become too poor. Because always your blessings would stay inside your family. Ruth needed a kinsman redeemer. She needed somebody in her family to buy back her land. And this is what Naomi said. Naomi said, the Lord bless him, Naomi said, the daughter-in-law. He has not stopped showing His kindness both to the living and the dead. She added, this man that you are paying attention to is your kinsman redeemer. That was Boaz. And she said, wow, this fella actually can buy back your inheritance for you. He's close enough to you that it can happen. The question is, who do we have that's close enough to buy back our situation? Again, we can't buy it on our own. We tried. Humanity tried. You look all through the Old and New Testament, we never could buy it back. Who can? We go to prophecy. I like this, because this is buried right beside the curse. A lot of people don't know this piece is in there, or at least don't know the significance of it. You go into the curse, you'll find, I will put enmity between you and the woman, between your offspring and hers. He will crush your head and you will strike his heel. Very powerful verse, very important verse in prophecy. It's very significant that it says here, the woman's seed. It doesn't talk about the man's seed. That's important, because back in the olden days, they always talked about the man's offspring, never the woman. What the verse is saying is, this child that will be born, that will save you, will not be born a man. Man will not contribute. There will be no male sperm that attaches to the egg. This child will be born of God only. God and the woman. That was the first prediction that you see here. The second one was, he's going to rise up, this offspring. And Satan's going to strike his heel. And Satan did strike Jesus' heel. But Jesus is going to deal a death blow to him. And he did. On the cross and giving back again. He dealt a death blow. That was our prediction. Back in the curse, we were given that prediction. We go to Isaiah. Therefore the Lord Himself will give you a sign. The virgin will be born with child, and will give birth to a son, and call his name Emmanuel. He will eat curds and honey, and he knows enough to reject the wrong and choose the right. There will be an individual, according to Scriptures, that is capable of not sinning. There was an individual that didn't sin, and that was Jesus Christ, God's own Son. He did not sin in any way, shape, or form. You go on a little bit further, it says Jesus was chosen before the beginning of the world. Since we are flesh and blood, ultimately He has to share in our humanity. He's a high priest. He's somebody who did everything that we've done, tempted by everything we've been tempted by, but never sinned. He was holy and perfect in everything He did. He's the only one that can buy us back. God said, I need someone perfect and holy. I need someone who will actually follow my laws. And Jesus was the only one that could. The only one that was out there. Let's look at the next one. Second requirement is, you've got to have the ability to pay the price. It's one thing to be close to somebody. It's another thing to be able to pay the price in the first place. Because if you can't, then it doesn't make any difference. You're not going to buy back their inheritance in the first place. So let's take a look. Naomi and Ruth. Naomi says this, return home, my daughters. Why would you want to come with me in the first place? After all, I can't have any more children. I'm way too old. I'm not going to have another husband anyway, Naomi said. And even if I did, by the time I have my kids, forget it. You're not going to get back your inheritance through me. It's impossible. Boaz had the ability to buy back the inheritance, but Naomi and Ruth didn't. It was an impossible situation. They couldn't buy it. Now the question is, can Jesus buy our inheritance?